What's up, guys? Dodgers Randy here for another weekly update. We've got 33 more days until pitchers and catchers report. Dodgers are making a couple moves. May not necessarily be what we want them to be, but they are filling up that 40-man roster, and they are bringing in guys to hopefully help out the team. So let's jump right into that. They signed former Royals outfielder Paulo Orlando to a minor league deal. That was confirmed by Mike Mayer, MMO, and it was also confirmed by JP Hoornstra that he received an invitation to spring training. This isn't a guy that I'm too concerned taking up a spot in the outfield. I think it's just, like it says, it's a minor league deal. I see a lot of people stressing out about stuff like that. I wouldn't worry too much about those minor league deals. If anything, it's depth for when somebody gets hurt. You can never have too much depth in a team. And they're just giving guys a chance. If they can work something out that helps them and they help our team, I don't care who they sign. They also picked up former Phillies and Mariners outfielder Cameron Perkins, and he also signed a minor league contract invitation to spring training. So again, just another guy that they're adding for depth in the outfield. It seems like this team has plenty of outfielders, but when you've got three of them at all times, you can never have too many, especially with how injured outfielders tend to get with the aggressiveness of that position out there. But don't stress too much on those things. Just kind of play them out, see what it does. If they start signing guys like that and putting them on the 40-man roster and we see them on opening day and they haven't earned a spot, then I'll get it. But until then, I wouldn't stress too much about those deals. They did make a trade with the Tampa Bay Rays for right-handed pitcher Jamie Schultz. He was traded for minor league right-handed pitcher Caleb Sampson from the Dodgers. And the Dodgers Twitter had actually confirmed this, so this is a done deal. Schultz is 27. He made 22 appearances with one start with the Rays in 2018. He went 2 for 2 with a 5.64 ERA while striking out 30 batters with 17 walks in 30 innings. That's not the greatest, but I do think the Dodgers, especially Honeycutt, could help work that out, make things get things a little bit more tightened up for him, and who knows, he could be a great arm out of the bullpen. We can always use that help. We saw our bullpen fall apart last year. I mean, it seems like he's got good stuff because his opponents are only hitting 159 against his fastball last year, which averaged 95 miles per hour. So that's pretty good when it comes to his fastball. So we'll have to see. And his curveball, which comes in about 82 miles per hour, they only hit 111. So with him having those two kind of dominant pitches, it seems more like a relief guy. He doesn't have a huge arsenal of pitches. So maybe if they can get him to just focus on those two and maybe add in another one, who knows? We might have a pretty good arm coming out of the bullpen in him. So I'd keep an eye out and kind of watch what the pitching staff does with him, because it could be interesting. I like what our pitching staff is capable of doing with the guys that they bring in. Another position we've been looking at and kind of talked about a lot is second base. As of now, it's really starting to look like Chris Taylor and Kike are going to be our second baseman. I would have liked to seen someone a little bit, I hate to use the word better because they're both professional athletes, they're both good, but I would have liked to see someone with a little bit more consistency at second base, but most of those guys got traded away or signed elsewhere. Dozier signed 1 year with the Nationals. Jed Lowry signed over, I can't think of who right now, but he signed with a team. And then DJ LeMahieu signed with the Yankees today. So a lot of the second basemen now are off the market. I'm hoping guys like Bellinger can turn the year around, because in my mind, my issue with Kike and Taylor is Taylor led the league, I think, in strikeouts last year, or at least had like 150, something like that. Something insane. Too many. And the inconsistencies there worry me a little bit. And it's also that if we have them at second base, it takes them away from our outfield. And then we have to put Jock out there, who struggles against lefties, and Bellinger, who struggled against lefties, although I think we're going to see a turnaround from Bellinger this year. I don't think we will see him struggling like he did last year. He kind of hit his sophomore slump, but he hit lefties so well in his rookie year that I don't think that's something that's going to stick, and he will turn it around. So I'm going to trust the front office. It's may not do exactly what I want to do, but they've gotten us to the World Series 2 years in a row, so I don't feel like I have all that much room to question what they're doing. However, they are still in on Corey Kluber and Trevor Bauer, but the Indians are still asking for a Chris Sale type level return in order to move them. Chris Sale, if I remember correctly, got quite a haul from the Red Sox, but Chris Sale was also younger and I believe had more years on his contract, and he's just a stud. Corey Kluber's 32, aging. He's a stud too, but when you get up there in that age, it becomes a little bit more questionable of when the decline is going to be starting. At this point, it's not really sounding like Bauer or Kluber are going to be traded because they don't have to move them now with Encarnacion being traded. They have the room. They have the payroll. They can keep them. So I'm not holding on to that one too much that they're going to actually make that trade. But in other news, they did. They traded for a catcher, guys. They brought back Russell Martin. I saw the notification and all I did was laugh. It's kind of funny that now 2 years in a row we've had Matt Kemp back last year, bringing back Russell Martin this year. The Russell Martin thing's interesting. He's owed $20 million. However, the Blue Jays are picking up about $16-17 million on his $20 million contract. And then I was talking to Jeff Snyder on Twitter. He's a great follow. He knows his stuff when you're talking to him. But he had mentioned due to Russell's salary, $20 million salary, and luxury tax numbers aren't the same. His luxury tax number's lower. It actually may not cost the team anything against the luxury tax. So that adds us a veteran catcher, stopgap. And it also doesn't necessarily, most likely, or at least not significantly hurt the luxury tax. So I think this makes this really interesting. His numbers are not all that good offensively. I know a lot of people like to pay attention to batting average. I'm not big on it, but he had a 194 batting average last year, 338 on base percentage. Strikeout numbers a little high in 23%, but he does have a 15% walk rate. So that's not too terrible. He only had a .6 WAR. So I don't think they're bringing him in for any offense. If anything, this is the way I look at it. I almost think there's a bigger move coming because of this. I had read an article yesterday that the Marlins need a catcher if they're going to trade Realmuto. So they're wanting at least a catcher, MLB ready catcher, and they're wanting an elite prospect. So my mind frame kind of went to, does this mean now they're going to trade Barnes and say Alex Verdugo, another top tier prospect, and send them to the Marlins to pick up Realmuto? The only problem with that is it sounds like the Marlins aren't willing to give up on the idea of Cody Bellinger, and I just don't think there's any way that's happening. Like 5 years of Cody Bellinger just, I don't think is worth the 2 years of Realmuto. We need a catcher, but considering how strong our farm system is when it comes to catching with Will Smith and Kyber Ruiz, it's just really hard to trade away someone with the talent and control and age of Cody Bellinger and just say, okay, here you go. So I don't really think that's going to happen. Grandal actually signed with the Brewers. He took a 1-year deal for $18,250,000. So it's only about $300,000 more than what the Dodgers offered for the qualifying offer. I don't know if the Dodgers didn't want to pay him that kind of money to come back on 1 year. I don't know if Grandal just doesn't want to be with the Dodgers anymore. He did get booed by the fan base. He might just be done. He might want to go somewhere else, start something new, prove himself at another organization, and then get a big deal contract next year. But he's off the table now. So the Dodgers catching options weren't all that heavy at this point outside of Realmuto, since Cervelli, like I mentioned, I think it was last week, the week before, the whole Cervelli trade that fell through. So it's kind of interesting what the Dodgers are doing right now, and I think it's not necessarily a bad thing, especially when it doesn't hurt the luxury tax. I don't know how productive Russell Martin will be. I don't know if the goal is for him to be a backup. If they get Realmuto, obviously he's not going to be a starter, but I can't imagine that the Marlins would be okay with taking him, so that's why I think they take Barnes. But it's interesting. I would like to see them do more. There's a lot of fans that don't want them to spend the money. I get it. You don't spend just because. However, when you have the money they have and we're so close to winning the World Series, I would like to see them spend a little bit more. I'd even be really interested in seeing Machado come back. Big right-handed bat, could really solidify that lineup with Seager coming back. Just imagine having something like well, I guess if they get Realmuto, we're probably not going to have Verdugo. But thinking if we don't, having Verdugo, Seager, Turner, Machado is your 1 through 4. That's pretty deadly with a Cody Bellinger who's probably going to get better, and then having guys to fill in like Chris Taylor, David Freese, and whoever the catcher may be. Because if we add a bat like Machado, I don't necessarily know if I'm going to worry too much about who's behind the plate, because I think Machado can pick up that lack of production. So that's an interesting one. They did say there's a mystery team in on Machado. I don't really think the Dodgers would get him, but it would be interesting to see them pick him up and kind of see what they did with that. I would not mind the guy back. I know a lot of people don't like him, but I don't know. The guy does what he wants to win, and he doesn't cause problems off the field, which is a big thing. I get some people think he's a dirty player, and he's not a clean player. I'm not going to say anything he did was normal, but I don't know. I don't hate the guy for what he did. I wish he wouldn't have done those things, but I would like to think if the Dodgers did sign him, we wouldn't be worrying about those things again. At least the whole stepping on the first baseman's ankle, no matter what your thought process is on if he should have moved his foot or not. But just kind of Machado's past on the baseball field has some people thinking he just wouldn't be a good fit, and I think it would be kind of fun to have a villain on the team. He plays it well, and he's a hell of a player, and I could imagine an infield of even Max Muncy, Manny Machado, Corey Seager, and Justin Turner, and put Bellinger in the outfield. I mean, that's pretty solid right there. But other than that, the only thing left is that today is the deadline for players and teams to exchange salary arbitration figures. The Dodgers have 7 guys who are arbitration eligible. It's Seager, Jock, Taylor, Kike, Baez, Fields, and Garcia. MLB trade rumors kind of projected to see about all of them making $8.8 million in total, which is ridiculous when you look at guys like, I mean, all of them, Baez, Seager, Taylor, Kike, Jock, all those guys are pretty good guys to have in your lineup, and they're still super cheap, which is never ever a bad thing. But I haven't seen anything on those yet. I'm sure the Dodgers will reach an agreement. If not, the problem with arbitration is they could go to court, and there is no meeting in between in the salary. The player goes, I want this much. The team goes, we'll give you this much. If they don't agree, they go to court, and only one comes out with the player gets what they want, or the team gets what they want. Hasn't happened in a long time, I believe, since the Dodgers have had to do that, so I'm not too concerned. But other than that, that's all I've got for you guys. Let me know what you think about the Russell Martin trade below. I would be interested to see kind of everyone's mindset and what you think is going to happen with that. If you think it's a move to do more, as in trade Barnes and get Realmuto, or if you really think the Dodgers are going to stick with Barnes and Martin. But yeah, so that's it, guys. We're 2 weeks away from FanFest tomorrow. 33 days until pitchers and catchers report. We're almost there. We just got to stick it out a little bit longer. But other than that, as always, I appreciate the support. Hope you guys have a great next week, and go Dodgers, and I'll catch y'all later.